Welcome back. We have a fun show for you today. It's how to boost your sales mojo and really your momentum this time of year. Now, we do know some of you are actually in a market where things start to juice up this time of year. Palm Springs, certain parts of Florida,
Phoenix.
Things like that. Phoenix, yep. Mm-hmm. Places where people go to escape from the the winter and whatnot. So for those of you, you guys are already probably very motivated because you're seeing your sales boards light up. But for the most of the country, really most of Canada, most of Europe, our podcast is listened to everywhere. You are definitely coming into a slower time of year. And the question is how do you actually keep your motivation so you don't lose momentum going into the new year? Because as we've been telling you guys, really for the last, 20 days, 30 days, that your new year's already officially started. You don't want to try to build momentum at the start of the year. You want to already have your momentum built. And guess what? I got great news for you. It's still basically the beginning of October. So you got 3 months to build killer momentum going into 2025. So pay attention to today's notes. Oh, speaking of notes, you're going to want to download these notes. There's a lot of notes. We're not going to get to all of them. Julie and I have actually Zooms right after this. So we have to keep this show relatively close to 30 minutes. But you're going to want all the notes. We're not going to get through all the points. And these are great ideas on our podcast, these notes to share with your team, your brokerage. Maybe you want to use them for social. It doesn't really matter. They're waiting for you. Just go to harrisrealestatedaily.com. harrisrealestatedaily.com is our free daily newsletter. And the notes and a lot of other exclusive content is only available for subscribers. So you have to subscribe. It takes 2 seconds. All you've got to do is drop your email in. Your email address in the little window, and then you have to hop over to your email itself, confirm that you want the subscription, and you're off to the races. So go to Harris Real Estate Daily if you want the notes from today's show, as well as our thousands and thousands and thousands of podcasts.
That's right. So we're going to have some points for you as usual, but also some action steps to make it practical and tactical for you. So point number 1, acknowledge the seasonality of real estate. And it doesn't really matter where you live during the holidays. Typically, everybody slows down because everybody's doing stuff, right? So understand that slower periods are a natural part of the real estate cycle. And instead of fearing them, embrace the opportunity to reset and refocus. In other words, seasonal shifts aren't setbacks, they're opportunities.
I have to say I was the worst ever at that. Honestly,
I think we still have a little bit of that baked into how we feel.
I do have little bouts of anxiety to this day from this time of year. Yeah. I do. It's irrational.
Fourth quarter stress.
It is. It's totally. It's because all of a sudden you have to start. It's all the things, right? Maybe you had a great year. Maybe you didn't have a great year. It doesn't matter. Well, it does matter, obviously. But I mean, at this point of the year, you're kind of focusing forward on what next year is going to be. But at the same time, it's naturally slower. And so you have to kind of, work a lot off faith that you're going to be able to keep your momentum into next year so that you can, build another great year or have a great year. So this is the time of year that you want to be doing the things that aren't necessarily going to lead directly to a transaction. If there's projects that needed to get finished, if there's CRMs needed to get built. So we're going to talk about those points. Point number 2, Julie.
Well, so the action step, what you just said on acknowledging the seasonality and looking at it as an opportunity, ask yourself what 3 things you've maybe procrastinated because you needed more time to conquer them. Updating your database, sending holiday cards to your top 30 past clients. Are you getting price reductions on unsold listings that are about to expire? Or maybe if the sellers are going to give you another week or weekend, maybe now's the time to talk about price so that they don't just give up during the holidays.
I looked at your notes a few days ago, Julie. I don't know how much you drilled on basically spoiling past clients for the holidays. Okay, you're getting to that. Yeah, but like if you have, for example, some there's working in your business and there's working on your business. Most of you have heard that, that saying before, and it's definitely true. So working in your business is actually working directly with buyers and sellers. Working on your business would be maybe, using my prior example of working on your CRM. So here's a little suggestion to all of you. There are some really amazing ways that you can hire people for usually no more than $20 or $25 per hour to build out your CRM, and they can do it in like 2 or 3 hours. And Upwork. I think it's Upwork. Hold on, let me look. It's on my, it's Upwork.com is the, it's sort of a virtual assistant, but it's not really. It's a place where you go, you put up your job posting, and then you'll have people from all over the world will apply for the job of, finishing whatever task it is you want done. And then you get to see their prior ratings, you get to see their prior work, you get to see all the things, so you can decide you're actually going to align yourself with somebody who's really good. So if you were procrastinating building out your social media campaign, if you're procrastinating, designing your whatever it is, this is the time of year to do it because you don't have to feel like you won't be neglecting the working in your business, which actually gets you paid because there's, this time of year, fewer opportunities.
Yes, very well put. time to, look at those things and make some changes and take some action. So number 2, shift your focus now to longer term goals. You can use your downtime to realign with your annual goals and adjust your business plan where necessary. Now's the time to ensure that your business strategy is still in alignment with your year-end goals. So ask yourself, what haven't you yet accomplished this year? And pretend it's already New Year's Eve. You're looking back, you're reflecting. What did you do well? What do you wish you would have done better? And what can you do? This is something I do with my coaching clients on the what they did well this year. How can we 10x that for next year?
Let me frame that out. Build on what Julie just said. So here's a visualization. We're sitting on the beach in Puerto Rico. You've come to visit Julie and I. And we're sitting on a beach. It's going to be probably, Barlovento, don't you think?
Yes.
Yes. So we're sitting on Barlovento. And I ask you, and this is just in a few months, and I ask you, what are the 3 things that you accomplished in the last 12 months that you're most proud of? Most of you, and I have done this so many times, I already know what their answers are going to be, do not have a defined thing that you're going to give me as an answer. You're not going to be able to say, I lost 25 pounds. You're not going to be able to say, I saved this amount of money, or I paid off this debt, or I actually took, 10 listings this year, or I went on that, trip I always wanted to take, or whatever it is. Most of you will not have a clearly defined, set of things that you're most proud of having accomplished. And I want you to think about that, because you're probably guilty of what I just said. Now, I've had that conversation with people of all different, income brackets, all different. I actually have to say, when I ask that the question of people that work for us, and I ask them, in terms of staff, and maybe it's because they listen to the podcast. That's probably why. They do have a very definitive answer as to what they're most proud of. But when I ask friends and successful friends, even very rarely do they.
Yes, that's true.
They don't really have anything. So they're just kind of going with the strongest breeze blows them. So here's the ultimate version of that. I want you to imagine we're back on Barlovento and, on the beach, and we're watching the kite surfers together. And I ask you the same question. This is the end of 2025 into 2026. I ask, what are the 3 things that you're most proud of having accomplished? Hopefully you will have listened to what I just said, and you will have very clearly defined a list. Maybe it's more than 3. Right? Maybe there's one big something, that you've always wanted to do, and you've accomplished that one. The other 2 aren't as nearly as important because the biggest goal, maybe you want to finish a book kind of thing, right? These are all really amazing things that you can then start benchmarking your progress by. But if you don't have a clearly defined goal, or goals in this matter, for the sake of this conversation, you're not going to have anything to really be proud of or celebrate, right? Does that make sense? So if you feel like, let's just say your business wasn't what you hoped it would be this year, but you did really great in other categories of your life. You're able to get your mile run down. You were able to lose some weight. You improve your relationships. The other things in your life were really great, but just the market wasn't there to really meet you, with what your financial goals were. But the other aspects of your life were fantastic. You did have a great year. So congratulations.
Yes. Keep it
so
real.
these are, now remember, if you want to fill in the blank business plan, ours is called the Real Estate Treasure Map. You can get that for free. And this is something that's, it's a book basically. We used to sell it. So it's 63 pages. It's fill in the blank. It's got work pages. It's got all kinds of very in-depth information. You can have this for free. And this is your 2025 fill in the blank business and life plan. Just go to premiercoaching.com and become a Premier Coaching client. And when you do, you get the first month of Premier for free, and you also get the Real Estate Treasure Map. It's right at the top when you log in. You're going to see it, and download that, fill that out, complete it with your family. If you don't have a family, complete it with your dog. It doesn't matter. The point of it is start out the new year with an actual plan. And Julie and I really spent a lot of time in the Real Estate Treasure Map drilling down on how, at the end of the day, your business really comes down to maybe 2 or 3 critical numbers. Number of listings you need to have at all times to meet or exceed your financial goals is really the punchline. But once you figure out what that is, you'll have such an immense feeling of security, of direction, of confidence. And you're also going to have an exact, fill in the blank business plan to know exactly what your 2025 real estate business needs to work like. That way, when we're at the end of the next year, having conversation about what the things are that you're most proud of having accomplished, you're going to be able to reference your real estate treasure map, and you're going to see you actually got some stuff done. That is what is really going to make for a massively fulfilling life, even when the year didn't necessarily deliver for you what you were hoping it to do in terms of finances. All right. So just go to premiercoaching.com, premiercoaching.com or text the word Premier to 47372 and join Premier Coaching for free for 30 days. And that does include a daily semi-private coaching call with a Harris certified coach.
That's right. It removes the uncertainty of what you'll be doing next year. And I think a lot of the fourth quarter stress comes from the uncertainty of what's to come and the pressure to not just do it all over again, but maybe even do a better job than you did this year for some.
That was the only thing when you and I sold real estate that actually would cure me from my panic attacks, basically, my mini panic attacks.
I mean, having a plan.
Right, having a plan.
Absolutely.
And that's when you and I created the real estate treasure map.
Yes.
Because we didn't want it, our treasure map we created for ourselves originally, we didn't want it to be, like Julie's and I's philosophy is really completely different than any other real estate coach I know about. Our philosophy of the real estate, our business, and frankly, all the other businesses, is that the business's product is profit. In other words, if the business isn't making profit, you're not really in business. And some people have a real, almost, I don't even know how you. So I've said that to people and they've gotten offended.
Visceral reaction.
They do. They're offended by it because their businesses aren't making any profit.
Yeah.
Well, when you hear about businesses and these business gurus talking about how your business shouldn't be making any profit, how you're supposed to be spending all your money and reinvesting it back in the business and all this, that's what the idea that business is going to be sold or someone's going to be invested in. So when you're listening to this advice, even if it's advice from real estate people that you think are credible, their advice may have come from people that maybe were, again, parroting good advice, but not relevant for your business. Because real estate practices don't sell. You're not building a sellable asset. The profit that you earn from running a profitable real estate practice, with that money, you then reinvest into assets. That is what I'm sure all of you wish you had more of. Real estate, things like that, stocks, gold, things like that, right? The way you're going to do that is by having a real estate treasure map that's designed around profit. And that's going to make it so that you do have a massive sense of direction, and you're no longer going to be going where the strongest breeze blows you. And that strongest breeze sometimes is your ego. And this is a conversation I had with someone the other day. It's like, if you want to know, I was being interviewed on somebody else's podcast. If you really want to know how much somebody's ego is in check, everyone's got an ego, right? But how much is someone's ego is in check? It's how much they're able to save. Because a person with a uncontrollable or unchecked ego does not save money. They spend on just everything. They're not thinking about the future, because thinking about the future makes it so that you have to detach from your ego's, demanding that it gets attention now. And so, ask yourself that. How these intuitive, these introspective thoughts, it's the time of year to do it.
Very well said. I'm glad that you covered all that, because it's such a critical time of year to have your marbles in your head, for sure.
Let's give them some books, Julie.
Sure.
So I'll tell you, this first book, 90% of you will hate, but all of you should read. Okay.
It's
true.
okay to hate it, but you have to understand it.
Right. It's called Profits Aren't Everything, They're the Only Thing. You got to read that book. Again, if you're a broker or a team, you're going to hate it, but you got to read the book. Profits Aren't Everything, They're the Only Thing. Book number 2 is you guys got to read our book, Harris Rules, if you've not read it yet. It's one of the best-selling real estate books of all time. It's got 600 plus 5-star reviews on Amazon. It is for sale at all major bookstores, but most towns don't have bookstores anymore. But yes, so you definitely get our book. And as far as the third book, I'll think of another one. But really, if you stick with those two, I think you're going to get... Our focus is always practical, tactical. We don't want to get into the weeds with the woo-woo or the mindset stuff, because ultimately when you're making money being of service to other people, oddly enough, you have no issues with your mindset. So maybe, reshuffle your deck going into next year. If you think your mindset was the issue, the reality of it is the lack of, being in alignment with your highest and truest purpose, which is servicing other people, was perhaps the issue, because you spent too much time doing things that didn't result in you being able to help other people. These are all, I think many people will agree, higher level thinking, but it does lead to higher level paychecks.
Indeed, it does. So that, since you mentioned mindset, point number 3 is to prioritize mindset over market. Develop a positive mindset and focus on growth regardless of market fluctuations. It shouldn't matter what your market's doing. This resilience helps you stay in control no matter what the season is. Your mindset is the only thing you can control during slower markets, so make it a fortress. Here's what I do. I use this mantra many times a day. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. If it's meant to be, it's up to me. That's you owning your success. So how do you do that in real estate? This is a great thing to adopt, especially fourth quarter. Make more contact with more people from a greater variety of sources. Are you speaking with people who are most likely to need your help, or are you being a secret agent? Being a secret agent, being holed up, waiting for things to change, waiting for things to heat up, waiting for interest rates to drop will make you broke. So instead, make more contact with more people in a greater variety of sources.
All right, point number 4, double down on lead generation. Now, this is a huge topic that Julie condensed down to 2 points, but I do want to, let me scan your points here, Julie. Okay, I do want to add something to the top of this one in particular. The number one job all of you should be doing this time of year, obviously, is prioritizing the things we've discussed with you so far. I also sprinkle in there making sure you've done what we suggested you do about a month ago, where you wrote down or had a calendar in front of you for the next 3 months and mark the days you're working and not working. And that way you could see that realistically for the rest of the year, starting October 1st, actually, you maybe have 45 working days if you take out the holidays and things like that. So in those 45 working days, making sure you're working, but also when you're not working, make sure you're not working, because you do need a time. This has been a very, very, very stressful year for the whole entire country, right? Maybe, dare I say, 3 years. Has been very stressful.
I would agree with that.
Yeah, and this year in particular, because of all the things. And there's every reason to believe that next year is going to be much, much better, lower interest rates, more inventory.
Don't have an election to deal with.
Exactly. And all this, how many freaking political, it's ridiculous.
It's exhausting.
Yes. Okay, so every single one of you need to be getting your centers of influence and past clients list together, and you need to start calling them. And so that we're going to condense point 4 and point 5. Point 4 was double down on lead generation, and point 5 is focus on client relations. But a simple thing for all of you to do is get your list together and call them. And after you call them, write them a holiday card. And if you have a whole bunch on your list, if you have Lance, Kenmore, he's got like 4,000.
That's a lot.
Yeah, but he hasn't actually been working his centers of influence and
he
past
is
clients.
now.
I know he is. So what he needs to do is he needs to go through his list and he needs to scrub it. He needs to use a list service to scrub it. Find out how many people moved out of town.
That's right.
All those things.
Pulling out all the steps. They're also doing a client appreciation party. We've done podcasts on that. You want to be making more contact, not less. You want to be nurturing your relationships, not hiding out from them.
Right.
So let's combine those points. Double down on lead generation was number 4, and focusing on client relationships. Those people that you lovingly call your database. This is the time to deepen those relationships with past clients, prospects, your networking. Use slower periods to make more contact, to check in, send personalized updates, cards, client appreciation parties, things of that nature. All of my coaching clients are going to be, and I know Coach Rochelle does this as well, playing the yes game. The yes game during fourth quarter, especially during the holidays, means you say yes whenever anybody invites you to anything, okay? You might not feel like going to all these social events. Maybe you're a self-professed introvert. Doesn't matter. Your job is to get out there and talk to people. Use your Ford script so that you're talking about real estate. We give you talking points. For sure, I do a podcast on that about every 2 weeks. You have really no excuse to not have anything to talk about. We have several podcasts training you exactly what to say and how to say it.
Well, if you don't have your centers of influence and past client list together, and to some extent, everyone's guilty of that, we have a lot of coaching in Premier Coaching, how to actually create that. There's actually a long list of ideas. But even if say you're brand new in real estate, you still have a center of influence. You just don't think of those folks as your center of influence. The guy who delivers your pizza, the dry cleaner, the guy that you bought your car from.
Your iPhone contacts.
Exactly. You guys get it? All the contacts in your iPhone, those are your centers of influence. And if you start fostering a relationship with them around the idea that you're their go-to real estate person, you're going to get deals out of that. Guys, it's a simple fact that over 60% of all real estate transactions with an agent who's been in the business for around 5 years, almost 60% are all from centers of influence and past clients, right? So if you've been in the business for 5 years, I can pretty much guarantee you that you're getting most of your business from that source. And if you've been in the business for that amount of time or longer and you're not, well, it's not too late for you to dust off your old client list and your old centers of influence list and start going after those folks, because this is the perfect time of year. Now, I've got a great news for you. They haven't been sitting around keeping track.
No.
They're not thinking, oh, damn it, I was just waiting for Bob to call. Did Bob call today? No.
He blew his star on my calendar.
Exactly.
He was supposed to call yesterday.
They don't know that you haven't been following up. They don't know that you haven't called. They don't know that you haven't contacted them in 18 years. Doesn't matter. Just reach out to them and make new contact with them. And again, perfect time of year to be doing it. And always remember, you don't have to lead with, don't necessarily this time of year lead with, a real estate conversation. Lead with something of value in terms of what's going on in the news. You can say, I got a great little simple script I just thought of. You can call every single one of your centers of influence and past clients that own homes, and you can act like real estate Santa Claus and tell them how much their house has appreciated in the last 24 months. They probably don't even know. And you could just call them all up, know that in Worthington, Ohio, homes have appreciated in the last 12 months by 18% or whatever it is. And you could do a quick math. What they pay plus 18%, your home is worth around that. And then offer to do ask them if they'd like you to do a more in-depth CMA to really drill down on what their home's value is. And if they say yes, then you ask, well, had you considered putting your house for sale because that's going to be, if you are, let me know the time frame so I can even do a more precise CMA. And then you're going to generate what's called a good old-fashioned listing lead from actually having done proactive lead generation. But every single conversation you end at the end with a script that's similar to this. Oh, by the way, Julie, whom do you know who's thinking about buying or selling real estate that I should be helping in this market? Or if you want to go advanced player mode, you can tell I have a daughter that loves video games. Yeah. Oh, by the way, who are the 2 or 3 people that you know who might be thinking about buying or selling real estate that I should be helping in this market? Emphasis on the word helping will make it easier for you to say that without you thinking that you're trying to be too pushy.
That's right. I mean, there's been a free script floating around forever, which goes like this. When do you plan on moving? Said no one ever, because that's too direct for 99% of you. When you use the helping word, as Tim just gave to you, everybody wants to help their friends out. Remember, we're talking to your past clients, your center of influence. They want to help you. And if they don't know anybody, that's okay. You're training them to think of you when they do have somebody that they can refer to you.
I love point number 6. Adopt daily routines that keep you grounded. I actually heard somebody talking about this today, talking about the difference between basically to-do lists and all the rest of it, and how to make something actually habitual so it's in your subconscious mind.
What'd they say?
And that's basically what a habit is. So they were describing, this was something Steve Ballmer said, who was the co-founder of Microsoft. And he was describing the fact that you have, essentially, there's different, the to-do list is level 1. The second list after that would be like, I don't even remember, to be honest with you, but the third level was where something becomes habitual. Where you don't think about it anymore. It's on the subconscious level.
You do it without having to make yourself do it.
And there are some things, good and bad, dear listener, that you're doing
Yeah.
on the subconscious level every single day. So what would be the things that you'd want to start intertwining into your, essentially your life that would be, that would build positive momentum? So what would be something that you could do every single day that would, even if you weren't getting real positive feedback when you were doing it every single day, but over time, it would amount to something significant, a significant improvement in your life. There are so many things: working out, care and feeding of your relationships, obviously saving money, not accumulating debt, getting better at your skills is a huge one.
Proactive lead generation would be one.
Yeah.
One of my favorite books that I use in coaching is Habit Stacking,
Yep.
who talks a lot about what you're speaking of. And what he says is it's easier to build a habit on the back of an existing habit. So if you are habitually, maybe your thing is going to lunch every day at noon. And ideally, you do that with past clients. You turn that into something, but you stick to noon. That's when you have lunch. That's what you're programmed to do. That's how you do it. So as soon as you get back from lunch, make the next hour always after lunch your lead follow-up hour of power. You're already hitting noon. You don't even think about that. You've got that pre-scheduled. Soon as your butt hits your seat or however you get back to your office, the next hour is your lead follow-up.
Here's advanced player mode. So all of you are planning on losing weight in the new year, right? I know you are, right?
Probably.
Yeah.
I don't think I've ever read anybody's goals that say that they want to pack on some more poundage.
Well, I mean, if you want to put on muscle, I'm
Well,
trying
maybe.
to put on a little muscle,
Okay.
honestly. I'm getting a little scrawny.
But most people, you're
Yes, but correct. So everyone waits till January, which is the exact opposite of what you should do. You should start your weight loss goals now. And I'll tell you why, because nobody's in the gym.
It's true.
It's this time of year, hardly anybody goes. So when you start going to the gym this time of year, you're going to run into the people that are actually doing it habitually.
And by the way, you can talk about real estate in the gym. It's
well, that's
okay.
where I was leading with it, right? So when you go to the gym this time of year, Julie and I are huge advocates of organized fitness programs like Orange Theory. And Orange Theory is fantastic and a great place to make real estate contacts. But you're going there because you're obviously wanting to get in better shape or maintain your condition. But you're also going to make a point of every time you go there having 2 or 3 or 1 conversation with somebody about real estate. And it won't take too long for when you march your butt into that gym, everybody's going to just automatically see Julie Harris, real estate, and they're going to come up and ask questions, or they're going to start sending referrals. That's the way it works in life with any kind of high-level service provider, which all of you guys are. That is what you do. All right, point number 7, Julie.
Point number 7, and we're going to touch on this more as we get closer to Thanksgiving, practice gratitude and mindfulness, but you can do it every day. When business slows, practice gratitude for your opportunities and be mindful of your thoughts. A grateful attitude shifts your focus from scarcity into abundance. It transforms your mindset and opens the doors for more opportunities. So now's a good time. Here's your action steps. Start your gratitude journal. Keep it every day. New habit. Send 20 handwritten notes of gratitude or congratulations. Do that every week and form new habits based on giving thanks to people who matter in your life. I like how this point ties into their social media. Because there's nothing that we could say that gets them off of social media, so use it for good, right? When you see a friend that had a birthday or their kid graduated or they came through a scary surgery or something like that, that should kick off a phone call and a card. Show your gratitude. Show how much that was meaningful to you, and it'll make you feel really great as well. That's something they're going to remember.
And if your first thought when Julie was saying this was, I'm going to do this, but I'm going to use some sort of automated system that mimics my handwriting and mails it out, does it automatically so I don't actually have to handwrite it, you're not playing the game correctly. The whole point of writing the letter is a subconscious trigger for you to be putting yourself in a state of gratitude, not just for you to do more shit for the sake of lead generating, trying to get a transaction done. And I want you guys to do this little exercise. And this is, I'll give you guys a real personal example. Sometimes Julie takes Zoe to school every morning, and we live in Puerto Rico. And sometimes the sojourn back to and fro to her school is wrought with peril. Let's just leave it at that. I mean, there are occasionally donkeys on the road.
Horses.
Yeah. So, I mean, it's funny.
Giant iguanas.
Okay. Now,
that you have to go around.
Now, we're making it sound like we live in Jurassic Park.
I know.
But the reality of it is, it's not like living back in Austin.
No.
Okay. All right. So, Julie will come home, and I'll immediately sense, just by looking at her, that she's a little, sketch. And so what I'll do is we go on a walk. As you guys know, we go on a walk every single morning, and, we'll walk her to the gym. Or we walk to the gym. And what I'll ask Julie to do, without asking her about how her morning went, because when she's in a bad mood, she's never going to tell me what happened that put her in a bad mood. She's not, and she's just
going to spread it around.
That's not what you're doing. You're just so deeply rooted in your bad mood. You're just fermenting
Perhaps.
it. Yeah, that's what's going on.
Sometimes.
So what I'll do is I'll ask her. I'll just point out something that she should be grateful for. It could be flowers. It could be just all things, right? All of us are surrounded. If you're alive, if you wake up looking at the green side of the grass every day, your heart should be full of gratitude. You are living a blessed life because you are alive. It really is that basic. So I'll just, start strumming up on Julie's emotions, telling her about different things that, Julie, isn't this just an incredible time of our lives? And can you believe we just finished, the ethical real estate professional designation, and we're going to be launching that any day now. And I mean, what makes you most proud about that? And I'll get her talking. And now she sometimes doesn't know what I'm doing, but she usually does. And sure enough, as soon as she's done showing gratitude towards 2 or 3 other things, she's going to instantly, everything changes.
It's a reset.
It's a reset. You can do that for yourself. Now, why would you choose? I just told you guys have all experienced this, right? If you're feeling crotchety right now, by me describing Julie being crotchety has made you feel crotchety, I apologize. But if you're feeling that way, I want you to think of 3 things right now that you're really grateful for. Go ahead, do it. Now, here's what you're going to discover. As you're thinking the thoughts of what you're grateful for, you have to allow yourself to feel the emotions of gratitude. So if you're grateful for your dog, right? I don't want you to just picture, your golden retriever. I want you to remember specifically and allow the emotions of an experience you had with your dog, to actually start to fill your heart. And when you do that, that's the gratitude taking over. And here's the miracle aspect of this. It truly is spiritual. Is that I think the vitriol, the anger, the bad mood cannot exist in your heart when you're feeling gratitude. Try it. Try to feel both emotions of resentment and anger and gratitude at the same time. It's impossible. And I don't know why. I've heard other people talk about this before, but they make it too woo-woo. But in a practical sense, like what I just gave it to you guys, I don't truly understand why those 2 emotions can't coexist, but they can't. So if you're having a bad day or you're having a bad run of bad days, try to put yourself in a state of gratitude. Just do it right now over one thing. It can be anything. It can be your shoes. It can be your car. It can be the weather. It can be the cup of coffee you're drinking right now or the treadmill you're running on. It doesn't matter.
But it has to be a habit. That's the challenging part.
Well, it does. And so what happens is, and everybody goes through this. This is like coaching 101, is you want to always put yourself in a state of gratitude in the morning. And if you combine it, habit stacking, with exercising, If you're going to be on a treadmill and you're thinking about things you're grateful for, it makes the feeling so much more intense that it's almost impossible for days after for any sort of nastiness to creep back into your heart. It is so incredible. So try that.
Yes, a very powerful habit to get into and to stick with. So point number 8, use visualization to create momentum. Visualize your success during really all times, but especially slow times. You can mentally rehearse, achieve your goals, and stay productive to generate the confidence and the energy you need to move forward. I can tell you that, and I think you'll resonate with this. When an agent goes to a listing appointment, and now to buyer's appointments, if they haven't put themselves in the mental visualization that this appointment's going to go well, I'm going to take the listing. I'm going to have a great buyer presentation. They're going to sign my buyer agreement. If they don't take that extra step of visualization of their success, and instead they're just going to see how it goes, what do you think is the difference in the results?
They're going to lose.
They're going to lose.
But that's the same thing. If you ever read any high-level sports coaching,
100%. I love watching the Olympics, especially like gymnastics and ice skating. And I try to predict based on the athlete's demeanor and what's on their face and how they're handling themselves, what they might be thinking, what's going on in their head, and how they're going to do. And you can almost always tell before they start who's going to wipe out.
Well, true. But like, for example, Formula One, which you and I have been following since the Ayrton Senna days back in the early 90s, Forever. And every single time you hear one of, like Ayrton, he used to talk about he wouldn't say it like this, but he would basically describe visualizing the race, thinking about, exactly how everything was going to play out. And if you guys aren't Formula One fans, you should be. But watch the old footage of Ayrton Senna racing in like Monaco and there's some other tracks, and watch his hands, watch the car just wanting to do anything other than just basically stay on the track, and how he is operating at such a higher level. It doesn't even make sense that his body and his mind are so much in sync with the car. It's spiritual. And that's the reason Ayrton was so, I think, people still to this day love him, because of the fact he was able to do things other people weren't able to do.
Well, do you think it's because of this visualization
Of course,
thing?
but he also was practiced. He was well known for practicing. Just like crazy. But also look at, for example, top producing real estate agents. It's easy for them to visualize being successful and doing good on a presentation because they've done it before. The challenge is when you've not done it before. That's when really you need to hire a real estate coach. Because if you're just trying to put it together, what essentially you're supposed to be doing on a presentation to win, and you're following advice from, frankly, somebody who's not qualified to give you advice, you're not going to win. You're just going to struggle. And what's eventually going to happen is you're going to blame yourself. And you're going to essentially start, your mindset, is going to start being trashed because you're going to start doubting yourself. You got to be super careful who you listen to, especially this time of year when, frankly, it's not as busy and you can let a lot of
negativity.
I'd say narcissistic, but damaging, egotistical, all these bad things can creep into your heart when you're not as busy. And some of you are so used to being so frantically busy that this time of year, some of those things that were just below the surface might start to creep up again. Remember the ideas that we shared with you on today's podcast. Get some great books, listen to some great podcasts.
Do your treasure map.
Do your treasure map, definitely. All right, last point, Julie, this is my favorite point. Point number 9, I'll read it and you read your points. Prepare for the upswing, because there's no doubt, I doubt if there's a single one of you that we would talk to, of the thousands and thousands that will listen to today's show, that will not agree 100% that 2025 is going to be significantly better than 2024 or 2023 or even 2022.
100%. So you need to be prepared for that spigot to turn on. Organize your systems, refine your processes, ensure you're ready to handle that influx of business. If you woke up tomorrow and rates were under 6 and everybody wants to buy and sell again, are you set up for that, or are you going to be overwhelmed? For example, what are you going to do when your buyer pipeline doubles and you don't have your buyer contract signed? And that's required. Are you ready?
What are you going to do when you get some listing leads and all those sellers have houses that they're going to be moving up, but you forget or don't know how to get the exclusive sign where it's going to obligate the buyer ultimately to pay your commission? You're not going to get the buyer contract signed. You're not going to get the listing contract signed.
You might not even call that lead back because you're still stuck in the freak out stage. You've got to get out of that. It's too late for that.
She's talking about the new rule, the guideline with regards to getting exclusive buyer agency contract signed. Let me end with this. A lot of you, over 500 of you, are on our interest list to become the founding members of the Ethical Real Estate Professional professional designation. And it's going to be, so the first designation, we're going to have several of these, but the first one's going to be focused on exclusive buyer agency. You can go to ethicalrealestateprofessional.com and you can see what we put together, but we're not taking any new members. We're going to be, again, Julie and I are doing our best to make it so this is a state-of-the-art, best product that ever has been essentially created for real estate professionals. This is an A to Z complete real estate system. It is going to give you, again, go to the website and check it out. It's going to give you a complete presentation that you're going to give to the buyer prior to meeting them that'll act as your silent salesperson that, and I mean this quite literally, is going to do the selling for you. It's going to explain to the buyer why they should be working exclusively with you. It's going to give you your unique selling propositions. Listing agents, you know what I'm talking about, or maybe you don't, you should, but you've had to have reasons to differentiate yourself from the competing listing agents. You're going to have to do exactly the same on the buyer side of the transaction. No more are buyer agent commissions an entitlement to a transaction. You're going to have to get the contract signed. Julie was telling me a story with one of her coaching clients. The name starts with G, and how she had 2 listings that sold, and the buyer agents. This is your story.
Well, there were 2 different buyers agents, and she got a call from their brokers. They were in the same brokerage, and the broker's like, "I guess you're not paying them a buyer side."
No, you skipped a part. Wait. They went to closing.
You're mixing stories, so
am I mixing or combining?
Yeah, that's okay. You tell what I told you.
Okay, well, the gist of it is she went to closing. The buyer's agents showed up with their buyers. Everybody was at closing like they had been.
Happy closing.
Right.
Yeah.
Am I getting it right?
Yeah.
Okay, and there was no buyer agent commission.
Right.
And the listing agent, who's Julie's coaching client, and some of you are really this is going to grind you, but this is what she did. She did get the seller to agree to pay 6%. She was getting paid 6% as the listing agent, because that was the agreed upon commission that the seller agreed to pay. We're not mentioning her name.
Right.
The buyer agent was getting nothing.
Because
why?
They didn't put it in the contract.
It wasn't in the contract. That's why. It wasn't in the contract as a concession. Now, so this new guideline, if you're just waking up to this new reality now, sorry to be the bearer of frankly frightening news, but this new guideline went into place middle of August. And here we are, not even the middle of October. And there's still agents that don't even know what the hell we're talking about. There's still states that don't know how to deal with this. And I'll tell you how
and brokerages too.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Everyone's going to figure this out when they have these experiences or know somebody has had the experience just like I described. Then they're going to go, WTF. What is going on? Well, you remember the thing you heard from Tim and Julie on the podcast last year? Maybe you should have listened, right?
Not just once, but originally last October when the whole thing started to be litigated. And then again, by the time we got to August and we knew what the new rules were going to be, you should be up to speed on this. They complaining about it, speculating about it, thinking it's not fair. Those times are over. It is here. You have to deal with it.
We started talking about this on the podcast in earnest in 2020 and 2021.
Well, that's true.
We did, because this is when we knew something was definitely
amiss,
right? Mm-hmm. We knew this litigation was happening. You and I took the time and really, we studied it, talked it through, tried to understand it, and then we came to the conclusion, frankly, that the plaintiff's attorneys really did have a really, I think, great point. And yeah, guess what happened? So moral of the story is you definitely are going to have to be able to compete at a higher level, and you're going to have to do it with having some sort of thing that's going to ultimately differentiate you. Ethical real estate professional, in our opinions, obviously, we created it, is going to be the new benchmark for what is going to be considered, essentially the upper tier of real estate agents in the country. That used to be with, they were with this real estate brokerage or this real estate brokerage. Well, all real estate brokerages are kind of the same. Our eXp Realty is our favorite one, but for the most part, they're all kind of the same. Oh, and by the way, if you want to join eXp Realty, just text me directly at 512-758-0206. But with regards to ethical real estate professional, it's a 7-part program. The first is about lead generation, then pre-qualifying, and then presenting. Presenting is where many of you are going to basically go into panic mode, because you're going to have to explain to the buyer why the buyer should obligate themselves to pay you whatever your commission is. Many of you aren't going to ever move past being able to do that, because all of your past buyer clients have been your friends and your family. Now, how are you going to tell your friends and your family, many of which you've done transactions with, that now they are the ones that are going to have to pay you?
That's right. And here's the thing. Some of you have already discovered this. Your strategy of simply sending it and saying it's required is not working.
No.
What that causes is that past client or someone in your center of influence, even if they know, love, and trust you and have transacted with you before, they go asking other agents that they know if that's really true. They don't automatically sign with you. Now they're going to other people who may or may not even know if it's true or not, and nobody has a transaction. Or they decide this is just too stressful. I'm going to buy new construction without you.
Well, here's what's happening. We gave the example with Julie's client. The buyers are going, even your sons, even your mama, they're going directly to the listing agents.
Yes. Whether that's an open house agent or new construction or even a for sale by owner.
So you guys are going to, many of you, even though I am pleading with you to listen to what we're saying, are not going to listen until you have a bad experience. That is human nature, and I accept it. But if you're smart, if you're just marginally smart, you're going to realize that you do not want to be learning the hard way because it's too damn expensive.
Well, the average commission is about $12,000, so
yes.
That's a pretty expensive lesson.
Exactly. Not to mention all the time you spent finding that house for that buyer. So we have absolutely 100% created the solution to the problem that you may not even realize you have yet, but you do. And here's the simplest way to get on the list. We're going to be doing a launch event. It's going to be a webinar. That's what we're creating right now. And it's going to be happening hopefully sometime in the next 30 days or less. The team has promised me 3 weeks or less, but we'll see. But you have to text the word buyer, B-U-Y-E-R, to 47372. Text the word buyer, B-U-Y-E-R, to 47372. And get on the list urgently to be invited to the launch, be one of the members of the founders at the launch event. We're only going to have 100 agents join the initial launch group and 2,500 total over, that's the only 2,500 is how many we're going to limit that will ever be able to be ethical real estate professional exclusive buyer agents. This is not going to be available for everybody forever. It's 2,500, then it's sold out. And the first 100 are going to be able to join that. Text the word buyer to 47372. Text the word buyer to 47372. And then we'll text you an invite to the event. You'll register for the event and then we'll be off to the races. You absolutely positively want to at least attend the event so you understand what we're talking about. And I'm sorry if I'm telling you this for the first time, but all the rules have changed. And it's not just everyone saying, well, it's just dealing with buyers. I'll just deal with, I'll just work on my listing side of the business. Guess what? A lot of those sellers have to buy houses. And if you're now confusing them because you don't know how to explain the exclusive buyer agency contract to them, they're not going to list the house with you either because you freaked them out. I mean, that's what's ultimately going to happen. So you got to keep your head above the clouds and realize the times have changed. But that's great because the greatest fortunes of men and women have always been made during the greatest times of change. And we're certainly in one of those now. Anything else you'd like to say to these guys, Julie? I got to get to my Zoom.
Get to work.
All right. Have a great day, guys. Bye.